Hey, it's Eric Olson. You're in the right place if you want to start a business, grow a business, or even want to create brand authority. Today, we're going to be talking about how to rank your blog higher on Google. This is a really good question. So, I reached out to Rand Fishkin. He is the CEO of SEOmoz, and we're going to talk about title tags, keywords, niche topics, utilizing keywords, publishing long content. Do you optimize your images? How much writing or how much content you have on your blog? Reducing bounce rates, and a bunch of good stuff about how to just rank well on Google. How do you get on the first page? We all want traffic to our website, right? Or our blog or any kind of content we're trying to produce. Make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of this kind of content, especially if you want to rank well in Google and you want to just grow your business. Since I got you here, I'm definitely going to be a little selfish and ask more of the SEO kind of questions, because a lot of people are trying to figure out SEO. I've been doing SEO for quite a while myself, but how about we just make it really simple for someone that maybe doesn't even know what SEO is in the very beginning, and maybe 5 things that every single blog should be doing on more of a beginner basis kind of stuff. I mean, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, so SEO stands for search engine optimization. It's basically the practice of getting more visible in the non-paid results from search engines like Google and Bing and others. YouTube is a reasonably powerful search engine in its own right. Some people are doing SEO for platforms like Amazon or Etsy with their storefronts, those kinds of things. But most of the time when we talk about SEO, we're talking about Google's results, because Google has the overwhelming majority of search market share and sends out the huge majority of traffic. And if you are creating content for the web and your audience is searching Google, which is almost everyone, you have this powerful opportunity to be in front of them right at the point of that search. And that can be transformative for a lot of businesses, especially because the cost to acquire a new customer from organic search can be very low, and the return on that investment can be very high. So it can really transform kind of the unit economics of a business. In terms of 5 things to do. So before you ever invest in search in SEO, I think you need a deep understanding of your audience, right? Who are they? When do they experience the problem that you're helping them solve? Who do they listen to? What do they read? What do they pay attention to? What sorts of problems do they encounter in the space that you're offering a solution in? What do they search for and look for before they have the problem that you solve, right? Because you don't want to be only in front of them when they're looking for the solution, or comparing your competitors. You want to be in front of them before that, so you can build up a brand association, so that you can, nudge them toward you, so that you can express sort of, shared values and shared elements. So yeah, first one, deep understanding of your audience and their influencers. Second thing I would do, make sure that your website is technically accessible, and I mean accessible to visitors and to Google. So that means that every page, loads quickly and performs well and displays its content on both mobile and desktop devices, tablets too. Making sure that your content is readable and legible, that your user interface and user experience are pleasant and, and hopefully more than pleasant, but are actually enjoyable. That sort of technical accessibility and user experience accessibility makes a big, big difference. So that means, making sure that you're not blocking Google from accessing your pages, or, we put up a lot of content, but it turns out it's all in images. It's text that's inside images. Google can't read that. They don't know what you're saying, so they can't see it. Or, we put up a lot of content, but actually it's video or audio content, but it has no text readable. There's no transcript, right? So Google can't parse that either. And these kinds of problems. Or we put up content. Oh, but we put it up on a website that we don't actually own. It's a subdomain of somebody else. We put it up at ourbusiness.blogspot.com. Oh no, right? Like you don't own that. You can't control the experience, et cetera, et cetera. Third one, keyword research. So you should be plugging in, there's lots of tools out there that you can use for this. Google's AdWords tool, which is free. And then there's tool providers like Moz with Keyword Explorer, or Ahrefs, SEMrush, Keyword Spy, SpyFu, a number of tools in this space that can help you discover the words and phrases that your customers are searching for in Google and how often they're looking for them. And I'll use Moz as an example, even though it's a little self-promotional, but, you go to Keyword Explorer and you might plug in, a keyword or two that kind of describe your business. And then you can see a big list of, other keywords that are related in all sorts of ways and how popular they are. And you can, check the ones that you like and build a little list and then start to prioritize by, how much search volume is there? How difficult will it be to rank for this? There's a keyword difficulty score in many of these tools, Moz included. What's the opportunity? So what's the click-through rate percentage on the organic results as opposed to all the other kinds of results Google might show, like ads? And then you can prioritize. You can say, all right, these are the 10 keywords that we think really matter to us. And then you're going to get to step 4. And step 4 is creating a keyword to content map. So you have the words and phrases that you want to target. And now you need to see, do I have content that will actually help people solve those problems and do it in a way that provides unique value from anyone else in the search results? Hopefully that's 10 times better than what anyone else in the search results is doing. And creating that content, crafting it so that it targets those keywords and it targets the intent of the searchers behind that and helps them solve their task. That is a huge part of SEO. And the last piece that I'll mention is you need people to take notice. So Google likes to rank not just content that helps searchers solve their problem, but content that has received recognition from around the rest of the web. And usually that recognition is in the form of links. So you're going to want to find people and publications that can link to you and will link to you. And that process is challenging, but essentially you can go look at who's linking to your competitors and not to you. What are the websites out there that already cover this space? Who are people who are writing about the topic that might be interested in writing about what you're doing? Where could you conceivably be a guest contributor to some of these sites? And those types of practices, there's a lot of tools out there for that. Moz has Open Site Explorer, Ahrefs, and Majestic have good tools for that. And even a lot of Google searches can help you discover people who potentially can link to you. So those are sort of the 5, right? Audience understanding, technical, your keyword research, your content creation, and your link building.
These are awesome. I have a question about the top 10 keywords that you're kind of mentioning. Let's say you go after those top 10 keywords. Could you write multiple different articles on the same keyword, or would that be oversaturation on that particular keyword? Or that keyword phrase, I should say.
Yeah, no, so if you get the sense, for example, that there are many different intents of searchers looking for a particular keyword, then I think it's totally reasonable for you to potentially have multiple pieces of content about that. Or if it's something that changes dramatically over time, and so you want to have the most up-to-date version, but you don't want to destroy the old stuff that you've done. You could potentially go publish a new version that has the most up-to-date information. And you go back to the old one and say, hey, there's an updated version, to see the updated version, check it out over here and link over to that. And I think that's a completely reasonable path to take. What I wouldn't do, though, is say, oh, well, we want to rank for this keyword. Let's write 5 articles about the same exact thing, or that serve the same searcher intent. don't do that. Put all your effort and energy into one piece that you believe will be the most effective, most task accomplishing, for your searchers. That'll help them the most. And then put the rest of the work into promoting that piece. Promote it to people who write about it and link to it and share it and those kinds of things.
Yeah, 80% promotions, right? 20% creation.
Yeah, a little bit.
More on the advanced side of it, the interlinking process. Is there a magical, not a certain number, but 3, 4, 5? Have you seen that just very beneficial for the SEO point of view from interlinking within the pages?
So when you say interlinking, do you mean linking from your own pages back to your own content, or do you mean external links, other websites pointing to you?
Let's say an anchor text link that goes to another article on your page. So you're keeping everything internal, but at the same time, you're doing external links going out to other publications that are much bigger than you to kind of get that authority going back and forth too. But I was just wondering about the interlinking process. If you've ever noticed if there was a certain sweet spot, you're like,
no, not really. I think, years ago, many years ago, on a lot of SEO issues, there were these sort of sweet spots, right? Because the algorithms behind search engines were much more simplistic, right? So that, in the 90s, they'd look for certain amounts of text and keyword repetition.
Yeah.
And in the early 2000s, right, PageRank was this very reverse engineerable formulaic path for how link equity flowed between pages and how Google would rank things. But today, in the world of machine learning and artificial intelligence and searcher intent and just incredible sophistication at the search engine ranking level, these things are no longer applicable, right? It's not, put your keyword in your title 3 times and, have it in your meta description 2 times and put it in bold on the page 1 time. None of that type of crap, right? Like that stuff is useless. And same thing with interlinking. It's not, if I interlink to this page from 5 other pages on my site that also rank for the keyword, that will, no. Certainly, look, is it helpful if you have good links between your own pages that help people accomplish the next thing they want to accomplish on your website? Absolutely. Is there some fixed number, some magic formula, some specific amount that you should be doing that or shouldn't? Hell no. It doesn't exist anymore. So sorry, a lot of this is case by case and serve the user first, right? So if you do a good job of creating a website that people engage with heavily, and it is also technically accessible to search engines, does a good job of targeting keywords that people are actually searching for, and earns links, you're golden, right? And a lot of that work is done for you, rather than the historically formulaic checklist type of approach to SEO, which is, on the technical side, there's still checklist types of things. Is your site secure? Does it load fast? Hopefully less than 3 seconds. Does it contain the right kinds of tags? The rel canonicals and a good meta description and a title element that's not too long and too short. But those things are much more accessibility driven and much less optimization driven than they once were.
I use the SEO Yoast, I think, plugin, if it's named that.
Yoast SEO, yeah.
And I noticed, like you were talking about those checklists that they kind of want you to go through. And one of them is definitely about the readability, how many links, things like that. Is that readability really that important? You're trying to make it into a 5th grade level, because one of my writers is very, uses big words all the time.
Yeah, so this is all about your audience, right?
Yeah.
I would not tell you to dumb down your language or to New Yorker it up. I would say that your obligation is to understand your audience well, and once you do, you can write for them very effectively. So for example, if you know that you are serving a lot of content, maybe you're a startup that's helping people with immigration, right, to the United States. And so that you have a lot of people who are learning English as a second language. And as a result of that, you are going to want to make sure that your content is extremely parsable at even very low levels. And so a plugin like Yoast that helps you, or Microsoft Words thing, and it says, great, this is readable at kindergarten or first grade level. That is perfect. That's what you want, because you want to be very accessible, very understandable to these folks for whom, learning a new language is incredibly challenging, especially in the legal world. My God. As opposed to, what if you're someone who's serving immigration attorneys, extremely well educated, used to legal terminology and jargon, technically, they've all gone to law school, right? And they passed the bar. You can use real big words, totally fine, right? If that is 12th grade level, no problem at all. In fact, we're trying to be more sophisticated. So it's case by case.
I'm glad you said that, because I always said, right for our audience, don't worry about that plugin.
Absolutely correct. And if the plugin can help guide you, right, can help serve as a guide for your audience, because you're speaking to one side of this equation or another, wonderful. But if not, don't worry about that. If it resonates with your audience, it's going to resonate with Google.
Well, I got one more question for you, is going back to, WordPress and those plugins. A lot of times you'll see, is this a pinnacle article? I've been looking at, research on that. How important is that? And what kind of strategies should people be doing with that pinnacle article or that big article,
Yeah. So when you think about the content that you want to build, I think it's really helpful to think about this from a strategic point of view rather than a hyper-tactical one. And what I mean by that is if you decide, you go out and you look and you say, hey, this keyword or this set of keywords that all serve this one searcher intent is going to be very, very difficult to rank for. Heavy competition. The way that we're going to do it is we're going to produce something that is extraordinary. And that's going to require extraordinary effort and time and investment and those kinds of things. And that might be a decision that you make to then say, we're going to build, a pinnacle article or a 10x piece of content around this. But likewise, you could also say, hey, rather than starting out that way, let's look for some easy wins. What are a few dozen keywords that we think we could win that are, very few people are targeting them. None of our competitors are playing heavily in that space. There's not a lot of good information out there. With something simple, we could rank. Maybe it only sends us 5 or 10 visits a month, but you know what? That's a start. And so we're going to begin with those, those easy bite-size pieces of content and work our way up. And I think that's a very reasonable approach as well. What I wouldn't do is say, we are only going to produce 10x content and we haven't really investigated why, but we heard it was a good idea. That's a terrible thing to do, right? Any piece of advice that you hear around the SEO world, the content marketing world, social media marketing, that advice should be applied tactically in your practices when it makes sense with your holistic strategy. If you don't have a strategy yet for why are we going after search keywords, why are we building a content marketing practice, is this the right thing to do? Get that first, then go, okay, now how do we apply these individual pieces of advice to improve this one problem that we've got?
One thing I just thought of right now that really bothers me with Google is when you do the keyword results or the search results, that some of the content is old. Like it'll say 2015, 2014, then there's other ones that say, January 2017. And I don't know, that's always bothered me. You know why that does that? Or
yeah, so Google is basically pretty sensitive. When they show those dates of publication, it usually means that the searchers have some bias to timely information of some kind. So sometimes that means they want older content that's sort of historic. So for example, if you searched for most successful baseball teams of the 20th century, and Google had this was published in 2001 by the New York Times, and it looks back at the prior century of baseball scores and that kind of thing. Like, okay, yeah, makes good sense. I see why they're interested in that timing. Versus something like Steph Curry stats, right? And you're like, okay, well, I want to know his stats up to last night's Warriors game, right?
Yep.
So I want to see something very, very up to date. And so if it hasn't been updated or published recently, I'm not interested in the New York Times amazing analysis of Steph Curry's three-point shooting stats from 2016. That's not what I'm looking for, right? I want to see right now. And so Google's likely to put that date in. When you see that date, the one thing that I would say very tactically as an SEO, but is that you usually have an opportunity to rank if you can publish something very fresh, especially if no one's published anything fresh in the last few months. So, if you see something like in your space, right? We were talking about immigration previously, right? So if you see what is, immigration to Washington State from Canada, and no one's published anything this year, but you see some dates in the search results, chances are really good, if you're the person who writes about that in 2017, you may not need all the links and all the ranking metrics that you normally would because you're fresh.
That's a great little hack there. I like it. Right. Left us with knowledge bomb at the very end. Love it. Okay. Tell us about your book. How can we get it? I mean, what's going on there? All that good stuff.
Yeah, so it's called Lost and Founder. It's not yet available for pre-order, but I suspect it will be probably in the next 30 to 60 days. So
Okay.
hopefully by the end of the year, you'll be able to see that. And yeah, I'm still working on the cover design with my publisher, which is always a fun adventure.
Are you including your followers in that, or you and your publisher are kind of working on that cover?
Yeah, it turns out that it's somewhat frustrating for me. I think I love to involve, a community of folks in this, but publishers tend to be a little more internally driven. And so, yeah, I'm biasing to their process and trying to trust their process a little more on this, and then see how that goes. But it's been interesting working in the world of publishing for sure.
Nice. And if anyone wanted to learn more about you, research you, where do you want them going in the next 30 days?
So the place where I do the most sharing is on Twitter. I'm at randfish. And you can also check out my blog at moz.com/rand, or the Moz blog, which has Whiteboard Friday and all of those things at moz.com/blog.
I'm assuming Whiteboard Fridays will be going goodbye in 2018?
We're not 100% sure about that.
Okay.
Some of the Moz team has asked me to come back in and do do some filming now and then. So yeah, I think you'll probably see at least some episodes still next year.
Nice. Oh, I can't wait for teleportation to happen too. Well,
you and me. Oh my God.
You can just teleport there.
the 12-hour trips to Europe with the terrible jet lag, I would give anything for teleportation.
Well, thank you so much for being on. It was quite an honor.
Oh, my pleasure, Eric. Thank you for having me.